And this segment is going to be on how to pick a target. You know, we've read a lot, we've got our rods and reels, we've practiced our casting. But how do we catch one? Where do bass live? And how do we find the targets? Well, I've come to a pond, just a local pond in my area, and I'm going to show you how to find a target on this little pond. And as we look around the pond, as I approach the pond, I'm going to tell you what I see and the things that I'm going to start looking for. But as I look here right at my feet, as I come down and I check out this shoreline that I'm standing on, I notice a couple of things. I notice, number one, the water's clear. It might not look it because it's brownish looking, but I can see right to the bottom in a couple feet of water. So this is pretty clear water. When I see water that's this clear, the first thing that I'm going to recognize is that I'm going to have to make a pretty long cast because the fish aren't going to let me get that close to them without moving off the bank or getting spooked. So we've got some clear water. That's the first thing I see. And the other thing I see is there's no real good targets right where I'm standing. I see some stumps over here and root systems, which are great places for bass to be, but they're a little shallow. They're right up on the bank. Preferably, I'd like to see them a little bit further off the bank or a little deeper. As I look and just examine around the pond, I see kind of a coverless shoreline, and I see a nice tall tree over there that's on the far side of the bank. I like that spot over there and thinking about it as a target because it's going to offer shade throughout the day, especially on a pond like this that has very little cover, very few targets. Shade can be a great target. As I skim around, you know, I see this is a pretty active pond. You know, we've got a lot of people in the area that are walking around the pond, but nobody fishing. So I like that. Maybe it doesn't get a lot of fishing pressure here. I'm noticing that. I see a water fountain here, but beyond the water fountain, I see a culvert and a cluster of trees. Now that culvert is almost guaranteed to be some type of stormwater runoff, right? So rain events happen. That's where the water is going to come into this pond. Usually it'll have some deeper water gouging it out. A lot of times it'll have rock riprap stabilizing the bottom and the shoreline around a culvert system like that. I'm looking at that. Hey, that's a possible target for a predator like a bass to set up and to feed on, because that discharge is going to bring in food for the small fish, like the minnows and the bluegill and the perch, whatever else might be here, are going to be drawn to that. And the nature of the concrete and riprap and possibly a deep water from the gouge from the stormwater runoff is going to create some ambush opportunities. So I'm looking at that as a real possible target. Now, and as I cruise around the pond, I don't see very much. So there's not a lot of shoreline habitat on this particular pond. So I'm going to have to go and look for submergent habitat to find the targets here on this pond. This is why you never go fishing ever without your polarized sunglasses. Whether you're just walking out of the pond or you're going to the big water, the polarized glasses are going to really help you see things underwater. That's what they do. It cuts down the glare. It allows you to penetrate the water surface much deeper than you could with just the naked eye. You can get, you know, in this case, I can see down to 3 to 4 feet of depth. Without them, I can barely see a foot into this water. So what is that? Why does that help me? That helps me for a couple reasons. That helps me to be able to identify the structure where a fish may be. It also helps me identify that if there's fish there. You know, sometimes you can see them. You know, you can see them swimming around. So what I'd like to do is let's take a walk around this pond and we'll look through the water and I'll identify the targets where I think a bass could possibly be at, and we'll see if we can make a few casts, try to hit those targets. But I want to show you on a pond like this where a bass typically lives. So let's go take a walk.
Welcome to Bass University TV, an online video training course where you'll learn champion bass fishing techniques from pro anglers Pete Glusek, Mike Iaconelli, and their talented special guests. From on the water to in the classroom, you'll learn sound techniques and strong fundamental bass fishing skills. Watch hours of video content on multiple topics at your own pace for a low monthly fee. Cancel at any time. Information is power in the sport of fishing, so learn from the very best. Subscribe to Bass University TV today.